Last year, the Wall Street Journal posted an article by Metaxas titled, "Science Increasingly Makes the Case for God." The article is partly a response to a Time magazine article from 1966 called "Is God Dead?" Metaxas says, the same year Time featured the now famous headline, the astronomer Carl Sagan announced that there were two important criteria for a planet to support life: the right kind of star, and a planet the right distance from that star. Given the roughly octillion, one followed by 27 zeros, planets in the universe, there should have been about septillion, one followed by 24 zeros, planets capable of supporting life. As our knowledge of the universe increased, it became clear that there were far more factors necessary for life than Sagan supposed. His two parameters grew to 10 and then 20 and then 50, and so the number of potentially life-supporting planets decreased accordingly. The number dropped to a few thousand planets and kept on plummeting. As factors continued to be discovered, the number of possible planets hit zero and kept going. In other words, the odds turned against any planet in the universe supporting life, including this one. Probability said that even we shouldn't be here. In response to this article, Lawrence Krauss wrote an article for The New Yorker. Krauss says, the author of the piece, Metaxas, is not himself a scientist. Rather, he's a writer and a TV host, and the article was a not-so-thinly veiled attempt to resurrect the notion of intelligent design, which gives religious arguments the veneer of science, this time in a cosmological context. The scientific evidence we have most recently collected actually seems to indicate the opposite of what Metaxas claims it indicates. Estimates about the probability of life in the universe have recently been revised upwards rather than downwards. For example, the habitable zone around any given star is now thought to be larger than previously believed. As Krauss says, the opportunities for the development of life in various systems and the possible forms of life we know of have exploded. Metaxas believes that our increased understanding of our evolutionary history implies that the origin of life on Earth is increasingly inexplicable, but the evidence seems to point in the opposite direction. Metaxas asks, at what point is it fair to admit that science suggests that we cannot be the result of random forces? This sentence alone shows that he has no clue what he's talking about. We don't know all of the factors that determine the features of the universe or life within it, but Metaxas seems to believe in the false dichotomy that the only two explanations are God and randomness. As Krauss says, an even more severe problem in Metaxas' argument is the assumption of randomness, namely that physical processes do not naturally drive a system toward a certain state. This is the most common error among those who argue that, given the complexity of life on Earth, evolution is as implausible as a tornado ravaging a junkyard and producing a 747. The latter event is indeed essentially statistically impossible. However, we now understand that the process of natural selection implies that evolution is anything but random. So the moral of the story is, don't rely on TV hosts writing in the Wall Street Journal for information about science.